What? Did you hear? This guy looks just like the killer in the news, instantly pulling out a switchblade like magic. Mark's heart raced, driven by survival instinct to head but the door, while the beefy guy approached, misunderstanding. The atmosphere tightened. A patrol car happened to drive by, but surprisingly, Mark didn't shout for help. After all, he knew that the arms don't outmatch the thighs. A letter knife couldn't compete with a gun, and the guy lost his bravado quicker than you can say mercy. Clearly not a real serial killer. At least in terms of presence, they were vastly different. Mark amazed everyone by ordering the guy to strap and roll on the ground. He even made the guy appreciate his gun in a humble pose, which was Mark's least favorite move during filming, but at that moment, he strangely felt a rush of excitement, immediately ordering the man to lie down, and then Mark gave him the final reward. The night was pierced by a pitiful wail. The guy instantly became a vanishing act, and back home, worn out, Mark strangely found himself snoozing in his buddy's arms, completely forgetting the thrilling escapade. However, the peaceful time soon passed. A sudden frantic knocking woke dreamy Mark, who found only a mysterious letter left behind when he opened the door. With questions, Mark unwrapped the letter to find a videotape. Popping it into the VCR, he was shocked, almost dropping his jaw. The tape, labeled police evidence, showed footage from his film, Back to Pearl Farm shoot 6 years ago. Mark had joined the crew at that farm to shoot a mature film, but ended up upsetting the farm's matriarch, leading to a bloody nightmare. Luckily, Mark became the only survivor and had to fight back to escape that terrible farm, turning the tables on the farm mistress. He then fled the death trap, and when the police arrived, all they found were bodies and a tape featuring Mark in a special film. Now, this tape resurfaced, undoubtedly a naked threat to him. If it got out, it faced severe legal consequences. At that moment, his buddy was startled by the tape, and Mark quickly masked his turmoil. He didn't want anyone to know about his unpleasant past, especially now, as he reinvented himself. Meanwhile, in a car by the curb, the man who delivered the tape sat, chatting with the mysterious black-clad figure from Mark's strip club. The next morning, Mark started his first day with the new crew, summoned for character mold making and plaster casting. As plaster layered his body, the 10-minute cool-off felt endless. The props guy sneaked out, seeming routine. It made Mark feel suffocated like never before, as the terrifying memories of that farm came flooding back. Fear almost consumed him, startling Mark into falling. After the first molding day, the staff handed him the script and schedule. Before parting, they didn't forget to say, "Wow, we love your work." Mark was so used to such praise that he remained unfazed. After all, he was a household name in the adult film industry, a little fame never hurt. But as he turned the car on to leave, he suddenly noticed an anonymous note jammed in the windshield, listing all the victims from that tragic event 6 years ago. Only Mark escaped from the farm, and he couldn't help but feel like he was being watched by invisible eyes, filled with unease. He urgently dialed the number listed on the note, and a high-pitched, cool voice at the person used prison time as leverage, demanding Mark comply within an hour, following the provided address to a fancy hotel. When they met, the person got straight to the point, opening with sharp sarcasm that lit up Mark's last nerve. Time and pointless arguments ceased to matter. He asked directly about the other man's intent. Claiming to be a private detective, he knew all about Mark's involvement in the massacre 6 years ago. He suggested that if Mark wanted to bury that unpleasant past, he'd have to comply with all his future orders unconditionally. After saying that, the man handed Mark an invitation to a private party at a Hollywood hilltop mansion. Faced with this sudden threat and control, Mark didn't want manipulation, but was threatened with ruined stardom, forcing serious consideration. Feeling frustrated, as soon as Mark returned home, 2 police officers stopped him at the door, informing him that the serial killer had struck again, with victims being 2 of his female colleagues, and then yet irritated Mark responded with a curt, "No comment," and hurried back to his apartment, with only one thought on his mind. He needed to uncover the mastermind behind everything ASAP. He knew that if he didn't handle this properly, he could end up in deep trouble and lose all he'd worked hard for in his acting career. So he decided to seek help from his agent. In the agent's office, Mark opened up about his buried past. The agent comforted him to work peacefully. The agent promised to arrange help for potential threats. That support was like a calming pill for Mark. With that reassurance, he returned to shooting, but the patrolling guards were twitchy, creating a tense atmosphere. Local conservatives were upset about the Puritan film, thinking it promoted evil forces. Then, a woman named Elizabeth approached Mark. She wasn't only the executive director of the film, but also the mastermind behind Mark's leading role. As Elizabeth toured Mark around the set, she inspired him and reminded him to cherish upcoming opportunities. During their conversation, they passed Psycho's filming site, where a classic cabin stood. For Mark, the cabin evoked familiarity, overlapping with a farm memory, fleetingly showing him the past farm's mistress. Only when Elizabeth gently tapped his shoulder did Mark snap awake from his trance, hurriedly saying goodbye to the shooting location. On the way home, an unsettling feeling washed over him. Mark noticed he was being followed, and upon closer inspection, it was that detective had met earlier. By this point, Mark felt no fear. He gripped the car keys tightly and confidently strode forward as night fell. Back at home, Mark lay in bed trying to memorize his lines, but little did he know that those lines contained subtle hints related to murder. Meanwhile, downstairs, his male best friend was preparing to close the door for the night when suddenly an icy chill surged through his heart, lingering just like the ominous warning conveyed through Mark's lines. Though there was no absolute proof, everything just felt tied to that videotape. Don't forget, folks, if you enjoy these darkly humorous tales, give us a thumbs up